Hey there, dreamers. Welcome back to Hypothetical, the cozy corner where we drift through the wonders of our world, softly and curiously. I'm so happy you've decided to spend a quiet moment, whether it's night, morning, or that calm in between unwinding here with me. Today, let's settle gently into our comfortable chairs, perhaps with a warm blanket, and cast our thoughts toward something vast, ancient, and endlessly mysterious, the deep blue heart of our planet, the ocean. Take a deep, slow breath, letting your awareness drift to the rhythmic hush of a wave breaking on a distant shore. Even when we're miles from the coastline, a sense of the sea often permeates our quiet moments, doesn't it? It whispers of profound depths, of journeys taken by currents unseen, of life blossoming in spaces we can only begin to imagine. Imagine for a moment the world from above. Below the wisps of clouds, you see the continents, familiar and steadfast. But then your gaze settles upon the overwhelming expanse of water, an iridescent blue stretching further than the eye can comprehend, shifting from azure near the sunny coasts to the darkest indigo in its profound centers. It shimmers with light, it churns with storms, and yet, underneath all that surface dynamism, there lies a stillness, an ancient, unwavering quietude that calls to something deep within us. It's a cradle of life, a crucible of history, and a keeper of untold secrets. Our journey begins, as all such journeys do, at the surface. Picture the gentle rise and fall of the water catching the golden dance of sunlight, perhaps dappled with the shadows of circling seabirds. There's a certain peaceful harmony here, a feeling of endless motion and boundless space. The air is fresh, carrying the faint, salty scent of the ocean's breath. But as we begin to dip below this sun-kissed veil, the world transforms, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, as if the water itself is inviting us to a quieter realm. With each meter we descend, the vibrant hues of the sun begin to soften. The reds are the first to be absorbed, then the oranges gradually yielding their intensity to a serene blue-green palette. This is the liminal space, where familiar light still graces the upper layers, beckoning plankton to drift in lazy circles, a living mist upon which so much ocean life depends. Fish still flash with color, catching the remnants of the day, their scales shimmering like jewels in the dwindling glow. This twilight zone, as it's sometimes called, is a realm of slow transitions, where the vibrant chorus of the sunlit waters begins to fade into a deeper, more thoughtful hum. Here, shapes become softer, movements more deliberate, as if nature itself is preparing for a hushed ceremony. But our descent continues, ever so gently, deeper and deeper into this watery embrace. The soft blues now begin to darken, gradually transforming into shades of purple and eventually to an inky, boundless black. The light, that primal source of warmth and vision, has been entirely absorbed by the overwhelming volume of water above. We have slipped past the last lingering echoes of the sun's presence. In this vast realm, vision, as we understand it, ceases to be the dominant sense. It's a world born of shadow, shaped by immense pressure, and illuminated by the occasional wondrous flicker of bioluminescence, nature's own ethereal light show, born of chemical reactions rather than distant stars. Imagine tiny living jewels drifting past, their soft glow illuminating transient shapes, silent dances in the unending dark. Each twinkle is a communication, a hunting lure, a beacon in the void. The air around us, of course, has been replaced entirely by water, and the gentle push of the surface has given way to an all-encompassing weight. The pressure builds not with a crushing suddenness, but with an ever-present, pervasive firmness, like an immensely powerful invisible hand steadily, softly pressing from every direction. It's a constant, fundamental force of this world, one that dictates the very architecture of life that manages to thrive here. Creatures dwelling at these depths must be marvels of engineering, their bodies uniquely adapted to exist in this liquid squeeze, often without air-filled cavities that would collapse under the strain. They are soft-bodied, resilient, elegant solutions to an environment that might seem impossibly hostile to us, yet it is their natural, comforting home. As we continue our imaginary drift downwards, we move beyond even the abyssal plains, those vast, relatively flat stretches of the ocean floor, draped in ancient sediments accumulated over millennia from the slow rain of organic particles from above. Here, life is sparse but persistent, a testament to the ingenuity of existence. The quiet here is absolute, broken only by the infinitesimal whispers of currents, or perhaps the slow, patient stirring of a scavenger in the nutrient-rich ooze. It is a timeless silence, the kind that swallows sound and cradles thought, inviting a meditative contemplation of our planet's hidden heart. And so we near the truly profound reaches, the geological sutures and scars etched into the Earth's very crust. We're speaking now of the ocean's trenches, deep, narrow furrows in the seafloor, plunging kilometers below even the average ocean floor. These are places born of the Earth's relentless slow-motion ballet, where tectonic plates clash and one, slowly, deliberately slips beneath the other. They are the deepest scars on the face of our world, chasms that make the Grand Canyon look like a gentle ripple. Imagine the tallest mountains we know, completely submerged and then some, disappearing entirely within these profound voids. The very word trench evokes a sense of immense drawn-out length and depth, a long, quiet secret held by the planet itself. Here in these extraordinary valleys and slopes that mark the final plunge into the true abyss, the pressure grows to monumental scales. To envision it is to imagine the weight of dozens of jumbo jets stacked atop a single coin, or the soft yet inexorable squeeze of thousands of elephants standing on your fingernail. It's a world utterly alien to our everyday experience, a place where metal objects would crumple without robust engineering, where water is chilled to just above freezing, and where no light has ever penetrated for the entire history of the world. It is the very edge of human comprehension, a realm of almost mythic proportion yet undeniably real, cradling an unknown tapestry of life that challenges all our preconceived notions of possibility. It is into these silent, unseen, and extraordinarily challenging depths, then, that we turn our curious minds today. This is the place sometimes known in whispers as the Forbidden Zone, not because any barrier actively prevents entry, but because the sheer, overwhelming environmental conditions make it almost utterly inaccessible, a realm fiercely guarded by nature's most fundamental forces, a place of such quiet majesty and profound alienness that it invites us to ponder the very limits of life and our own persistent drive to understand the world, even its most distant and demanding corners. We seek to explore these forbidden zones, not with the intention of conquering them, but of gently bearing witness to the magnificent resilience of life and the intricate, delicate balance that governs our blue planet, even in its most profound slumber. As we consider the vastness hidden beneath the shimmering surface, a journey begins not outward, toward distant stars, but inward, descending through the endless blue. This descent is not a mere dropping away, It is a profound transformation of existence, an entrance into a realm where the very laws of our everyday experience are rewritten, softly, irrevocably. It is here, far below the reach of sun and sky, that we begin to find what some have quietly called the forbidden zone. This isn't a single defined border etched into the seafloor, but rather an accumulation of conditions, a gradual compounding of challenges that reshape everything, crafting an environment so utterly different from our own. Imagine, if you will, floating upon the sun-warmed skin of the ocean, feeling the gentle tug of currents, the kiss of a breeze on your skin. Below, for perhaps 100 feet or so, the light still dances, playful and vibrant, painting the corals and darting fish in a palette of blues, greens, and yellows. This is a world we know, a world brimming with visible life, bustling with the familiar rhythms of photosynthesis and predator and prey. But then, as you drift further down, deeper still, the light begins to dim. It doesn't vanish in an instant, but rather fades, slowly, like the lingering colors of a sunset stretching across an impossibly wide horizon. The oranges and reds are the first to be absorbed, leaving only the cool, muted shades of blue and violet to filter through the growing column of water above. A quiet hush seems to settle upon this descending journey. The familiar sounds of the surface world, the crashing waves, the calls of gulls, the distant hum of human activity, all melt away, replaced by an encompassing, gentle silence, broken only, perhaps, by the far-off sigh of deep ocean currents or the mysterious creaks of geological movements beneath the Earth's crust. As the last vestiges of daylight become but a faint memory, perhaps a distant sapphire glow that suggests a world above rather than illuminates one below, you are welcomed into the twilight zone, a place of perpetual dusk. Here, even the most persistent blues give way to a soft, enveloping darkness. This twilight is not the fleeting, ephemeral thing we know on land, but an eternal state, where creatures employ ingenious methods of self-illumination, twinkling like scattered embers in a vast, dark cathedral. And so deeper we sink, past this fleeting shimmer, into a true, unbroken midnight. This is not the temporary darkness of night on the surface which eventually yields to the dawn, but a darkness that has persisted for eons, untouched by the sun's comforting embrace. This is the domain of perpetual night, where a starless, moonless void stretches endlessly in every direction, interrupted only by the bioluminescent flashes of life itself, or perhaps the distant, eerie gleam of a research submersible's floodlights, transient visitors from a forgotten world above. This absence of light, this profound and unyielding dark, is the first profound barrier that defines the edges of the forbidden zone. With no sunlight to fuel photosynthesis, the primary engine of most life on Earth simply cannot operate. The very foundation of the food web, as we know it, dissolves away. But darkness is only one veil in this deep theater. As we continue our imagined descent, another force begins to make itself known, slowly, relentlessly building, pressing in from every direction. This is the immense and unforgiving pressure of the ocean itself. Picture for a moment the incredible weight of the water column above. For every 10 meters you go down, the pressure increases by 1 atmosphere, which is roughly equivalent to the weight of the air at sea level. Imagine what happens when you descend not tens or hundreds of meters, but thousands. A mile down and the pressure is already staggering, the weight of a heavy train car pressing on every square inch of your being. Go deeper, to 5, 6, or 7 miles, into the abyssal and hodl zones where the forbidden zone truly comes into its own, and the numbers cease to have a familiar meaning. Think of it this way. For every tiny patch of your skin, say about the size of a postage stamp, there would be the weight of perhaps 40 to 50 commercial jumbo jets, or thousands upon thousands of elephants standing precariously atop one another, pressing down relentlessly. This isn't just a force that could crush delicate things. It alters the very chemistry of water, changing how molecules interact, how life itself must be structured. Our fragile human bodies filled with pockets of air and water would simply be obliterated, compacted beyond recognition, long before we even brushed the initial layers of this truly profound depth. This intense, ubiquitous pressure means that any vessel venturing into these profound depths must be meticulously engineered, forged from materials capable of withstanding forces that are almost beyond our terrestrial comprehension. Even the very concept of space changes, becoming an infinite yet incredibly compressed. Alongside this relentless pressure, another silent agent takes hold, the penetrating cold. While some areas near hydrothermal vents offer dramatic volcanic warmth, the vast majority of the deep ocean is locked in a perpetual near-freezing chill. Imagine waters just a few degrees above freezing, perhaps 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, or roughly 34 to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. This is not the sharp, stinging cold of an Arctic gale, but a deep, pervasive coolness that permeates everything, seeping into every crevice, holding things in a kind of suspended animation. Life here must contend not only with the absence of light and the crushing weight, but also with metabolic processes slowed by the relentless chill. Adaptations become exquisitely subtle, slow growth, minimal movement, energy conservation above all else. This profound cold preserves and arrests, creating a timeless realm where processes unfold at an almost geological pace, which brings us to the profound challenge of sustenance. Without light, there are no plants to convert sunlight into energy. This means that nearly all life in the deep ocean, especially in the forbidden zone, is reliant on a trickle of organic matter drifting down from the vibrant surface world above. This rain of detritus, often called marine snow, consists of dead organisms, discarded exoskeletons, fecal pellets, and tiny fragments of organic debris, all gently, slowly spiraling downwards, a continuous, albeit sparse, offering from the sunlit realms. This falling bounty provides the foundation for entire ecosystems. Imagine living your whole existence waiting for tiny, almost invisible flecks of nourishment to drift into your sphere, a delicate dance of patience and opportunism. This makes the creatures of the forbidden zone incredible generalists and specialists. Some, like the tripod fish, develop elongated fins to lift themselves off the seafloor, poised motionless, like silent antennae, to intercept any falling morsels. Others are masters of ambush, lying perfectly still for days or weeks, waiting for an unwary meal to drift close enough. Still more are scavengers, their senses finely tuned to detect the subtle chemical signatures of fallen whales or larger dead animals that provide a temporary but vital feast. This scarcity of food means that energy must be conserved with meticulous care. There are no extravagant displays of metabolism, no rapid bursts of activity without profound reason. Every calorie is precious, every movement deliberate, every adaptation a testament to ingenious survival. Yet this dark, cold, high-pressure realm is not uniformly desolate. The seafloor itself is a dynamic canvas, shaped by immense geological forces far beneath the surface. We speak of the forbidden zone, and often envision vast, flat, muddy, abyssal plains stretching for hundreds of thousands of square miles in uninterrupted, featureless expanse. These plains are indeed the dominant landscape of the deep ocean, sculpted by millennia of sedimentation, accumulating the slow, gentle rain of marine snow into thick layers of ooze and clay. Imagine wandering across a perpetually soft, silken desert, so smooth that even the slightest ripple becomes a landmark. But then, interspersed within this overwhelming flatness, are breathtaking geological features, the monumental ridges and troughs that form the deepest canyons and trenches on our planet. These are the Hadal zones, named after Hades, the Greek god of the underworld, for their unimaginable depths. They are geological wounds, scars on the Earth's surface where one tectonic plate is relentlessly grinding beneath another, a slow, titanic process that pushes the seafloor downwards into unfathomable chasms. These trenches, such as the Mariana Trench, which hosts the deepest known point on Earth, the Challenger Deep, are the most profound expressions of the Forbidden Zone, reaching depths that utterly defy comprehension. It's here, 7 miles down, that the pressure we discussed earlier intensifies to truly staggering levels, nearing 2,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. This is where the ocean floor is literally bending and descending back into the Earth's mantle, a slow-motion geological ballet played out over millions of years. Within these deep plains and trenches, there are also unexpected havens of warmth and vibrant activity. Hydrothermal vents, discovered only in the late 1970s, burst forth from cracks in the seafloor, spewing superheated, mineral-rich water that has been chemically altered by contact with the Earth's molten interior. These deep-sea geysers create bizarre, chimney-like structures, sometimes reaching the height of multi-story buildings from which dark, smoky plumes billow, depositing exotic minerals onto the ocean floor. Here, life does not rely on sunlight for its primary energy. Instead, it harnesses the chemical energy locked within the vent fluids, a process called chemosynthesis. Bacteria and archaea form the base of this food web, thriving in conditions that would be toxic to most life, and in turn supporting strange and wonderful ecosystems of giant tube worms, blind shrimp, and bizarre crabs that seem plucked from a science fiction dream. These isolated oases are bright pockets of abundance, fiercely challenging the prevailing scarcity and silence of the surrounding deep, providing fleeting glimpses of a resilient, adaptable biological reality. And so, the Forbidden Zone is a composite of all these profound conditions: the unyielding darkness, the crushing pressure, the biting cold, the profound scarcity of food, and the stark, alien geological canvas. It is an environment so foreign that merely contemplating it stretches our human imagination to its limits. For generations, this deep realm remained entirely inaccessible, a mystery veiled in profound silence. Early attempts to understand what lay beneath the waves were often rudimentary, relying on weighted lines to measure depth, returning nothing more than sticky mud or a crushed glass vial to hint at the alien conditions below. The concept of actual life existing in these hostile circumstances was widely debated, with many eminent scientists believing the depths to be barren, lifeless plains, azoic zones where nothing could possibly survive. The weight, the cold, the darkness, surely these were insurmountable barriers for any living thing. Yet the persistent curiosity of humanity pushed further. The 19th century saw the beginnings of systematic deep-sea exploration, primarily through the ambitious and extensive expeditions of naval vessels converted for scientific discovery. Imagine these early ships sailing blindly over uncharted waters, dropping hundreds of miles of rope into the unknown, a process that could take many, many hours, sometimes even a full day, to reach the deepest parts of the ocean floor. And what they brought up was often just as puzzling. fragments of strange, often soft-bodied creatures, mud teeming with microscopic life, and sometimes entirely new species unlike anything ever seen before. These tantalizing glimpses, often damaged by the incredible pressure changes during their ascent, served as the first quiet refutations of the lifeless abyss theory. Slowly, painstakingly, the reality began to emerge. The forbidden zone, though utterly alien, was not devoid of life. It was simply incredibly different. Life had found a way, a multitude of ways, to adapt and persist in a world where we, as surface-dwelling beings, would be utterly extinguished in an instant. It began to whisper its secrets, one slow, methodical, extraordinary discovery at a time. And so we begin our true descent, leaving behind the sunlit skin of the ocean, moving beyond the familiar blues and greens that speak of warmth and light. Picture, if you will, not a plunge, but a slow, graceful glide, as if an invisible hand guides us ever deeper into the heart of the liquid world. Imagine a single feather released from the surface, drifting without hurry, spiraling gently downward through ever-darkening layers of water. This is not a quick journey, nor one for the impatient. The ocean itself seems to breathe with an almost immeasurable slowness at these depths. The very idea of down changes its meaning here. It is not just a direction, but a gateway, a veil, drawing us into realms where the rhythms of our surface world become whispers, then forgotten echoes. The familiar spectrum of light begins its long farewell almost immediately. First, the vibrant reds, those cheerful hues we associate with sunsets and vitality, are absorbed and scattered, lost to the embracing water within mere meters. Then the oranges follow, fading into a dull wash. Even the sunny yellows, tenacious though they are, yield to the inevitable absorption. What remains is a world bathed in an ever-deepening blue, the very color of the water itself reflecting and lingering long after its warmer companions have vanished. For a time the blues hold sway, painting the passing marine snow, the delicate cascade of organic detritus that drifts constantly downward, in shades of sapphire and indigo. Here, the last faint echoes of sunlight might still shimmer, playing tricks on the eye, an almost imperceptible glow reaching through countless meters of liquid space. It is a blue that evokes thought, a tranquil, vast expanse that hints at hidden immensities. But even this resilient blue cannot last. Slowly, subtly, it begins to wane, losing its vibrancy, its distinction. It softens, dims, and eventually dissolves into an omnipresent gray, a world preparing for an even deeper, more profound change. This twilight zone, where the sun's last breath falters, is often known as the mesopelagic. Here, life forms adapted to this dim transition exist in a perpetual crepuscule. Many wear silver cloaks, designed to reflect the remaining downward light, helping them disappear against the faint illumination filtering from above. Others begin to carry their own fragile lamps, a first hint of the internal brilliance that will dominate the truly dark world below. As we slip further, perhaps reaching depths of 200, 300, 500 meters, the gray itself begins to surrender. The last trace of external illumination, no matter how diffused, is extinguished. The world around us becomes an unbroken tapestry of absolute, complete, profound darkness. This is the realm where surface light never reaches, where the sun's warmth and vibrant energy hold no sway. It is a place beyond sunrises and sunsets, beyond the moon's pull and the stars' distant twinkle. It is a perpetual night, undisturbed by the familiar cycles that govern life on land and near the surface. And in this descent, hand in hand with the vanishing light, comes the slow, inexorable building of another fundamental force: pressure. It is not an abrupt wall, but a gradual, pervasive tightening, like an embrace that never releases. At the surface, we live under the weight of an entire column of air, a pressure so constant we rarely notice it, equivalent to the mass of perhaps 10,000 kilograms pressing on a square meter of land. But in the ocean, water is far denser than air, and with every 10 meters of depth, another full atmosphere of pressure is added. Imagine stacking soft, plump pillows one upon another, until the very bottom one feels the weight of all those above. Then replace those pillows with invisible, unyielding blocks of immense weight. 1, then 2, then 50, then 100, then 1,000 of these pressures accumulate. By the time we have descended just 1,000 meters, still far from the true forbidden zone, the pressure would be like having an entire jumbo jet balanced on the roof of a small car. It is a weight that compacts, that crushes, that tests the very resilience of matter. And yet within this realm of unimaginable squeeze, the creatures that dwell here are perfectly at ease. They are built for it, designed for it. Their very cells lack the air spaces that would collapse under such conditions. Their bodies are often soft, gelatinous, mostly water, allowing the immense pressure to pass right through them, distributing evenly without distortion. It is a testament to the elegant ingenuity of life, a slow and patient dance of adaptation over millions upon millions of years. For them, this profound weight is simply their natural state, their normal unyielding blanket. So we continue, carried by unseen currents, into a silence that transcends any human experience. Sound travels effectively through water, much faster than through air. A distant tremor from a seafloor earthquake or the resonant pulse of a massive whale could travel for thousands of kilometers. And yet, this is not a cacophony. It is an immense, muted quiet. The sounds that echo here are alien to us, sounds of the earth itself, or the vast low rumblings of oceanic movements, the gentle rush of surface waves, the singing of wind, the chirping of birds. These cease to be, replaced by a profound stillness, a weighty calm that seems to press not just on the body, but on the very spirit. This profound silence, combined with the endless darkness, lends these depths an almost sacred air of isolation. It is a place where human time scales and perceptions feel utterly irrelevant. A fallen leaf, carried out to sea and slowly saturated, might descend for weeks before coming to rest on the abyssal plain. A single grain of sediment, slowly accumulating over eons, builds the geological fabric of this underworld. The sense of time stretches, elongates, becoming almost liquid itself, flowing with an unhurried grandeur that speaks of primordial eras. Now imagine we have reached such a place, an abyssal plain. Picture a seemingly boundless expanse, stretching further than the eye can conceive, an undulating, softly rolling landscape of fine, silty mud. It lies perhaps 4,000 meters beneath the surface, or even 5 or 6. Above us, miles of water, silent, cold, dark, exerting its unyielding pressure. Here, the seafloor is not barren rock, but a carpet woven over millions of years, an accumulation of the most delicate debris. This is the great burial ground of the ocean, where the slow rain of marine snow constantly descends, particle by minuscule particle. What is this marine snow? It is not snow as we know it, pristine white flakes from the sky. This is life's graceful refuse, an ethereal drift of microscopic fragments, an almost invisible bounty from the teeming, vibrant waters above. Bits of dead plankton, tiny larval shells, minute fragments of decaying plants, the cast-off skins of small crustaceans, specks of fecal matter from surface dwellers, all bind together with mucus into delicate, fluffy aggregates. Each particle is infinitesimally small, barely visible to the naked eye, yet together they form a continuous, slow-motion blizzard that feeds the vast silent populations below. This unending descent of marine snow is the lifeblood of the abyssal plain. Without the sun, there are no plants, no photosynthesis to capture the primary energy. Life here must feed on the indirect gifts from above, on the organic bounty that eventually drifts down into the perpetual night. And so, the animals of the abyss, moving slowly, deliberately, become experts in harvesting this ephemeral rain. They are the great decomposers, the scavengers, the silent connoisseurs of detritus, ensuring that every last calorie of energy is extracted before it becomes forever entombed in the growing layers of sediment. This accumulating sediment, built grain by grain, year by year, century by century, tells the Earth's long, slow story. Within its layers lie ancient pollen from forgotten landmasses, the fossilized remnants of surface organisms, microscopic mineral fragments carried by currents from distant continents. Each layer is a chapter, a quiet inscription waiting for geological time to unveil it. The weight of water above, pressing down, compacts these sediments over unimaginable eons, slowly transforming them into rock, cementing the planet's vast, dark history beneath the waves. The abyssal plains are the vast majority of our planet's surface, a truly enormous quiet dominion, larger than all the continents combined, and within this deep, flat world, time seems to hold its breath. Events unfold on a different scale. The erosion of a canyon wall at the surface happens relatively swiftly under the combined assault of wind and water. Here in the deep ocean, the currents are sluggish, the abrasive force is minimal. Change is measured not in years or decades, but in geological epochs. A footprint pressed into the soft sediment, if undisturbed by current or burrowing creature, might persist for thousands of years. A single skeletal fragment could remain visible on the seafloor for lifetimes beyond human comprehension. But the abyssal plain, while seemingly uniform in its quiet immensity, is not entirely flat. Gentle hills rise, sculpted by currents and geological uplift, and sometimes, hinting at the deep geology below, isolated seamounts pierce the calm, soft mud. Imagine an ancient, eroded volcano, its peak now far below the surface, its slopes perhaps colonized by strange, sessile creatures filtering the nutrient-poor waters. These seamounts become isolated islands in the deep-sea desert, supporting pockets of biodiversity distinct from the surrounding plains, offering rocky surfaces where other forms of life can anchor themselves, escaping the perpetual soft rain. And in this unyielding darkness, within this realm of crushing weight and pervasive chill, often just a few degrees above freezing, near freezing at greater depths, as the water grows denser as it gets colder, life has not only found a way, it has flourished in an astounding, bewildering array of forms. Here, in the aphotic zone, the lightless world, the concept of color, as we understand it from the surface, becomes mostly irrelevant. Vibrant hues that signal to mates or warn-off predators in a sunlit world serve no purpose where no light can see them. Instead, many creatures are transparent, their fragile forms blending with the water around them, rendering them almost invisible, even if a bioluminescent flicker momentarily illuminated them. Others embrace shades of deep red or black. Red, counterintuitively, becomes a kind of invisibility cloak in a blue-lit world. Though not relevant in absolute darkness, it reflects none of the limited blue light found in the twilight zone. For the truly abyssal creatures, pure black is the ultimate camouflage, absorbing any stray bioluminescent flash, ensuring their silhouette does not betray their presence. Imagine a sudden ethereal flicker in the impenetrable darkness. It appears for a fleeting moment, perhaps a tiny green glow or a soft blue pulse, then vanishes, swallowed by the immense quiet. This is the dance of bioluminescence, the very light of the deep ocean, generated by living organisms through an intricate chemical reaction. It is the deep sea's sunshine, its starlight, its warning signal, and its silent, seductive lure. The mechanisms of bioluminescence are fascinating in their variety. Most often it involves a molecule called luciferin reacting with an enzyme, luciferase, in the presence of oxygen and ATP. This chemical reaction releases energy in the form of light, producing what is often referred to as cold light, light generated with very little heat, efficient and focused. Each flash, each sustained glow, is a precisely controlled internal alchemy. And what a myriad of purposes this internal light serves. For some, it is a desperate searchlight, illuminating tiny patches of the eternal night to spot prey. Imagine a deep-sea anglerfish, its grotesque form crowned by a fishing rod-like appendage tipped with a bioluminescent lure. This lure dangles, a deceptive star in the void, drawing curious, unsuspecting prey closer, hypnotizing them perhaps with its gentle pulse until they are within striking distance of the angler's immense, tooth-filled maw. It is a predatory theater, staged in the absolute dark. For others, bioluminescence is a warning, a sudden blinding flash to startle a potential predator, allowing a quick escape into the inky blackness. Picture a tiny, defenseless shrimp, suddenly bathed in the predatory glow of an unseen hunter. In a panic, it might expel a cloud of luminous fluid, a burst of bright light that acts like a smoke screen, momentarily dazzling its attacker, buying precious seconds to vanish. Or perhaps a sudden, synchronous flashing of a school of fish might create a confusing spectacle, making it difficult for a hunter to pick out an individual target. Communication, too, unfolds through light. Potential mates might signal to each other, a complex code of flashes and pulses exchanged across the void, guiding them towards each other in this otherwise trackless expanse. Different species, even different sexes within a species, may have unique patterns of bioluminescence, an ancient slow-motion Morse code of love and warning. Some squid have complex patterns of light-emitting organs, photophores, that can be individually controlled, creating shifting, intricate displays across their bodies, perhaps conveying messages as elaborate as the visual language of surface-dwelling cuttlefish. The distribution of photophores across a creature's body is often exquisitely tailored. Many fish living in the dimmest reaches of the twilight zone possess rows of downward-facing photophores. These create a shimmering counter-illumination, breaking up their silhouette and making them difficult to spot against the faint ambient light filtering down from above, a kind of self-generated camouflage. It is a subtle trick, perfectly adapted to a world on the brink of absolute darkness. But how do these creatures resist the incredible pressures that would flatten human submarines without heavy reinforcement? The secret lies in their very composition. Their bodies, unlike ours, contain no gas-filled spaces, no lungs, no swim bladders for buoyancy. These would instantly implode under the colossal weight. Instead, their cells are saturated with water, their tissues often soft, gelatinous, and highly incompressible. The pressure passes straight through them, exerting equal force on all sides, essentially allowing them to be one with their surroundings. For them, a kilometer of water above feels no different than a single inch, because their internal pressure perfectly matches the external. Their physiology, too, is subtly adapted. Deep-sea enzymes and proteins function perfectly under pressures that would denature and destroy their surface counterparts. They are intrinsically pressure-adapted, stable and efficient in an environment that is deadly to any unadapted form of life. Metabolism is often slow, deliberately unhurried, conserving precious energy in a food-scarce environment. Growth rates can be incredibly slow and lifespans proportionally extended, some creatures living for hundreds of years. With eyes, too, adaptation takes many forms. In the faint twilight zones, some species have developed enormous tubular eyes, directed upward, acting like giant binoculars to capture every last photon of residual light. These eyes are often incredibly sensitive, built for detecting the faintest bioluminescent flashes or the mere silhouettes of passing creatures against the barely perceptible surface light. Think of them as immense optical traps, gathering the few remaining hints of illumination. However, in the truly abyssal realms where light from above is an utter myth, and even bioluminescence might be sparse and unpredictable, large eyes become a drain on resources, and so many creatures in the absolute blackness have either drastically reduced their eyes or lost them altogether. They rely instead on an array of other senses, an incredibly refined sense of smell or taste to detect chemical cues from prey or mates over vast distances, specialized lateral line systems to detect subtle vibrations in the water, revealing the movement of unseen creatures, or even electroreception, picking up the faint electrical impulses generated by muscle contractions of other animals. Here, information about the world comes through waves and chemicals, not photons. Food scarcity, as noted, is another dominant constraint of life in the abyss. Without primary producers at these depths, all energy must ultimately derive from the surface, raining down as marine snow, or from infrequent, monumental events like whale falls, where the carcass of a giant plunges to the seafloor, providing an immense feast for years or decades. So many deep-sea creatures are generalists, opportunistic scavengers, prepared to consume whatever edible falls into their path. They possess disproportionately large mouths and stomachs, capable of swallowing prey much larger than themselves in one gulp, making the most of a rare feeding opportunity. Others have evolved intricate lures or stealthy ambush tactics, patiently waiting for the unwitting to blunder near. And yet, despite the pervasive cold, the immense pressure, the utter darkness, and the constant scarcity of food, there exist oases, unexpected islands of fervent activity, bursts of warmth and life against the monotonous cold. Which brings us to perhaps one of the most astonishing discoveries of the 20th century, the hydrothermal vents. Imagine standing on a surface that has for millions of years been cold, dark, and utterly still. Suddenly a shiver moves through the water, a subtle tremor that grows. Then a dark column begins to rise from a jagged crack in the seafloor, not of water, but of what appears to be dense, boiling smoke. This is no ordinary smoke, no ash from a terrestrial fire. This is a plume laden with dissolved minerals, superheated by the Earth's fiery core. It is a black smoker, one of the most iconic and dramatic features of the deep-sea abyss. The discovery of these hydrothermal vents in 1977 utterly revolutionized our understanding of life on Earth. Before then, the paradigm was simple. All life ultimately depends on the sun. Plants photosynthesize, herbivores eat plants, carnivores eat herbivores, and so on. The abyss without sunlight was thought to be a vast, slow desert, But these vents revealed a completely different story, an entire ecosystem powered not by the sun but by the very chemistry of the Earth's interior. This process is called chemosynthesis. Deep beneath the ocean floor, tectonic plates slowly pull apart, creating cracks and fissures in the Earth's crust. Cold seawater percolates down through these cracks, hundreds of meters deep, where it meets intensely hot magma chambers. Here, the water becomes superheated, far beyond the normal boiling point, prevented from turning to steam by the immense pressure above. As it heats, the water reacts with the surrounding rock, stripping it of its minerals, dissolving elements like iron, copper, zinc, and sulfur from the crust. This chemically altered, superheated, often highly acidic water then bursts back out of the seafloor through chimney-like structures, returning to the cold ocean depths. As this hot mineral-rich fluid hits the frigid surrounding seawater, the dissolved minerals instantly precipitate out, forming particulate clouds. These microscopic particles, rich in metal sulfides, are what give the black smokers their dark, almost inky appearance. These chimneys themselves are built by the continuous deposition of these minerals, growing slowly upward, sometimes forming elaborate spire-like structures that can be many meters tall, resembling otherworldly cathedrals emerging from the darkness. It is at the very base of these vents, where the superheated fluids mix with the cold ocean water, that life begins to bloom. Here, specific types of bacteria and archaea do not perform photosynthesis, but chemosynthesis. They convert the hydrogen sulfide, methane, and other chemicals bubbling from the vent into organic compounds, forming the base of a completely independent food chain. These microorganisms are the primary producers, the grasses and trees of this deep-sea ecosystem. And what a bewildering array of creatures they support. Imagine forests of giant tube worms, many meters tall, with brilliant red plumes, swaying gently in the unseen currents of the vent fluids. These worms, Riftia pachyptilla, are perhaps the most iconic inhabitants of the vents. They have no mouth, no gut, no anus. Instead, they live in a symbiotic relationship with billions of chemosynthetic bacteria harbored within their bodies. The worm's red plume, rich in hemoglobin, absorbs oxygen and hydrogen sulfide from the water and transports it to these internal bacterial symbionts. In return, the bacteria provide the worm with all its nutritional needs, converting the chemicals into food. It is a partnership of breathtaking efficiency, a biological fusion perfected over millennia. Clusters of mussels, sometimes growing to immense sizes, carpet the rocks, filtering vent fluids. Giant white crabs scuttle across the surfaces, preying on other vent animals or scraping the bacterial mats that carpet the rocks. Pale, ghost-like fish dart in and out of the superheated plumes, and strange, hairy snails graze the rich bacterial growth, each creature intricately connected to the chemical outpouring from the earth, forming dense, vibrant communities in what would otherwise be a barren wasteland. These oases are not static. The lifespan of a hydrothermal vent is often geologically short, perhaps only decades or a few centuries. As the magmatic heat source shifts or wanes, the flow of superheated fluids might decrease, and the vents can eventually die, becoming inactive chimneys. When this happens, the vibrant communities that thrived around them fade away, returning to the slow, sparse rhythms of the abyssal plain. But even in death, there is a dispersal. Larvae of vent creatures are often able to travel considerable distances, sometimes clinging to debris, sometimes floating on currents, waiting to detect the telltale chemical signatures of new vent fields emerging elsewhere. It is a perpetual cycle of life, death, and relocation in the vast, shifting landscape of the deep ocean. Alongside the fiery heat of hydrothermal vents, there are also the cold seeps. Here, another type of chemical energy fuels life. Imagine areas where methane gas, or hydrogen sulfide, or oil slowly leaks from the seafloor. Often these seeps occur where ancient deposits of organic material have been buried and undergone decomposition. This methane can sometimes crystallize with water to form methane hydrates, solid ice-like compounds that stabilize under high pressure and low temperature. Picture an ethereal, shimmering ice embedded in the mud, slowly bubbling with gases, and around these sites, other communities of life gather. Chemosynthetic bacteria are once again the foundation, consuming the methane and sulfur compounds. Mussels, clam beds, and often highly specialized species of worms colonize these areas, again hosting symbiotic bacteria in their tissues, much like their vent-dwelling cousins. Sometimes enormous beds of methane-eating mussels spread across hundreds of square meters, an enormous expanse of living creatures that survive entirely without sunlight, powered by the Earth's subtle seeping gases. These cold seeps tend to be longer lived than hydrothermal vents, persisting for hundreds or even thousands of years, fostering slower growing, often endemic species unique to a specific seep site. Both types of chemosynthetic oases offer breathtaking glimpses into life's capacity to thrive even in the most extreme, unexpected corners of our world. Which brings us then to the very deepest scars on the Earth's face, the oceanic trenches. Imagine descending even further, beyond the abyssal plains. The gradual slope steepens, begins to plunge, and the seafloor falls away into an immense, unthinkably deep crevice, a canyon so vast it makes the Grand Canyon seem a mere scratch on the surface. These are not merely depressions, they are profound, elongated furrows, geological monuments that can plunge to depths of 11,000 meters, nearly 7 miles below the surface. This extreme environment is known as the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the Greek god of the underworld. These trenches are formed by a monumental geological ballet, plate tectonics. Picture the Earth's crust as a vast broken eggshell, composed of enormous plates constantly moving, colliding, and sliding past each other. Where one oceanic plate, heavier and denser, slowly slides beneath another oceanic plate or a continental plate, it creates a subduction zone. The descending plate bends downwards, pulling the seafloor with it, creating these immensely deep, narrow, V-shaped valleys, the trenches. The Pacific Ring of Fire, for example, a belt of intense volcanic and seismic activity, is defined by many such subduction zones and their associated trenches. Within these chasms, the pressures reach their absolute extreme. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest point known, the Challenger Deep, the pressure can be over 1,000 times that at sea level. This is the equivalent of trying to balance 50 jumbo jets on the top of your head. It is a pressure that distorts steel, that collapses unreinforced structures instantly, that renders most conventional materials fragile and useless. It is a squeeze beyond our casual comprehension, a fundamental reshaping force, and yet, even here, life persists. The Hadal Zone, initially thought to be barren, has been found to harbor surprisingly diverse, albeit sparse and often unique, communities of creatures. Hadal organisms display an even more refined suite of adaptations to extreme pressure than their abyssal cousins. Many are amphipods, small shrimp-like crustaceans, often called supergiants of the Hadal Zone because some species grow much larger here than in shallower waters. Others are delicate, transparent snailfish, or bizarre, often blind, elongated creatures, perfectly designed to exist in this crushingly heavy, pitch-black world. Their enzymes and cell membranes are specially adapted, preventing structural damage and allowing biochemical processes to occur under phenomenal pressures. Fatty acids within their cell membranes are often more unsaturated, helping to maintain fluidity and function. Specialized molecules known as piezolites accumulate in their cells, counteracting the effects of pressure on proteins and enzymes, acting as internal stabilizing agents. The food sources in the Hadal Zone are similar to the abyssal plains. A reliance on the slow drizzle of marine snow from above, sometimes augmented by whale falls or large pieces of terrestrial plant matter washed into the sea, because trenches are also sediment traps, concentrating particulate matter from surrounding shallower areas. They can sometimes have slightly richer food sources than comparable abyssal plains at the same depth. Exploring these trenches represents the ultimate frontier of human endeavor in the ocean. The challenge is immense, far exceeding that of even scaling Everest. Special submersibles, often built with immensely strong spherical pressure hulls like the Bathurst Cafe Trieste or James Cameron's Deep-Sea Challenger, have been engineered to withstand these incredible forces. Imagine the quiet hum of the machinery, the creaking of the metal shell protesting against the unimaginable squeeze, as a lone human or a small crew descends slowly for hours into this ultimate abyss. The sense of isolation is profound, a fragile bubble of human ingenuity suspended against an immeasurable, indifferent force of nature. What does it feel like to be at the bottom of the Challenger Deep? Very few humans have experienced it directly. Those who have describe it with reverence, a mixture of awe and profound introspection. It is a place beyond noise, beyond light, a place where one feels utterly divorced from the familiar world, connected only to the vast, encompassing weight of the planet's ocean. It is an experience that underscores the forbidden aspect of this zone, not because it is actively hostile, but because it is so fundamentally other, so far removed from the conditions of our existence that merely observing it becomes an almost spiritual experience of cosmic insignificance and planetary grandeur. Our journey continues, leading us into this deep unknown, constantly reflecting on the concept of this forbidden zone. What exactly makes it forbidden? Is it merely the immense physical barrier of water and pressure, the sheer crushing force? Or is it something more profound, something that speaks to our innate fear and fascination with ultimate frontiers, with realms that seem to actively resist our presence? For a very long time in human history, the deep ocean was entirely the realm of imagination, populated by monstrous krakens and gargantuan leviathans that could swallow ships whole. Stories from sailors spoke of bottomless chasms, of abysses leading to other worlds. This deep primordial fear stemmed from sheer ignorance. The surface waves and storms were dangers enough. The unknown depths beyond them were unimaginable terrors. Even as scientific exploration slowly began to dispel some of these myths, the reality that emerged was perhaps no less awe-inspiring, if less terrifying in the classical sense. The depths were found not to be empty, but teeming with life, a bizarre and wondrous biology that challenged every preconception about what life required to thrive. But the physical barriers remained immense, and for many generations utterly impenetrable. The early imaginings, while steeped in myth, pointed to a psychological truth. There is something inherently unsettling about realms beyond human access, beyond our ability to directly perceive or interact with them. This deep ocean became the ultimate out-of-sight, out-of-mind environment, yet it constantly tantalized. Its forbidden nature fueled the yearning to conquer it, to shed light on its mysteries. The initial probes of the deep were humble and often blind. Weighted lines dropped overboard to measure depth, retrieving a handful of mud, hinting at the existence of a bottom. Later, rudimentary trawls brought up creatures previously thought impossible, bizarre fish, luminous invertebrates, confirming that life existed even in the coldest, darkest reaches. Each sample, each measurement was a small, painstaking chipping away at the forbidden wall. Even today, with our sophisticated technologies, remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, capable of incredible dives, our deepest dividing submersibles. Our understanding of the Hadal Zone and the deeper abyssal plains remains incredibly nascent. We have surveyed only a minuscule fraction of the global seafloor in high resolution. Much of the deep forbidden zone remains, literally and figuratively, unexplored and unnamed territory. We have more detailed maps of the Moon and Mars than of most of our own ocean floor. The forbidden aspect, therefore, continues to resonate not just from physical impossibility, but from the sheer scale of the unknown. We've peered through tiny keyholes into immense dark chambers. The knowledge we gain is slow, painstakingly acquired. It takes vast resources, immense planning, and years of effort to gather even a few precious samples or observations from these extreme depths. This inherent difficulty, this almost sacred resistance to human intrusion, reinforces its sense of being a forbidden territory, a realm where Earth itself dictates the terms of engagement. Consider the human attempt at connection. When a submersible like Trieste touched down in the Challenger Deep in 1960, it represented not just a technological feat, but a philosophical one. For the first time, human eyes directly witnessed the true deep, placing human consciousness into a realm so profoundly alien that it could forever shift our perspective of our own planet. The quiet solitude down there, the vast weight, the palpable sense of deep time, it is an experience that resonates long after returning to the familiar light. The forbidden zone begins to loosen its grip when one gains even this tenuous connection, shifting from pure mystery to observed reality, albeit one profoundly different from our own. The ongoing fascination lies precisely in this challenge. Why do we push ourselves to these extremes? Perhaps it is an innate human drive for exploration, a primal curiosity about what lies beyond the horizon, or, in this case, below the surface. To understand the deep ocean is to understand a fundamental part of our planet's operating system, a critical component of its geology, climate, and biology. The vast volume of cold, dense water in the abyss plays a crucial role in global oceanic currents, a slow, deep circulation that influences climate on the continents. The abyssal sediments lock away immense quantities of carbon over geological timescales, acting as a natural regulator for Earth's atmospheric composition. The bizarre forms of life discovered there challenge our definitions of what life needs to survive. The discovery of chemosynthesis demonstrated an entirely new pathway for life's energy, expanding the possibility for life beyond Earth. If life can thrive without the sun's energy, powered by chemistry and the Earth's own internal heat, then similar conditions could foster life on distant moons or planets within our own solar system and beyond, broadening the search for extraterrestrial biology. In time, we begin to appreciate that this vast, cold, dark, and pressured world is not a mere void but a vital, interconnected system intimately linked to the world we inhabit above. Its very stillness belies a quiet, profound activity. The currents, though slow, move massive quantities of water. The tectonic plates, though imperceptible on human timescales, reshape continents, and create the deepest valleys. The continuous rain of marine snow provides nourishment for countless hidden lives, sustaining a hidden ecology of extraordinary resilience. And as we consider its quiet grandeur, it forces a reckoning with our own place. The deep ocean serves as a potent reminder of the vastness of phenomena beyond our control, of environments so fundamental and powerful that they stand indifferent to human striving. It is an untouched library of geological history, a biological laboratory demonstrating extreme adaptation, and a colossal repository of planetary resources and processes, most of which we are only just beginning to grasp. Yet, despite its physical forbiddenness, humanity's long reach now subtly, yet powerfully, begins to make its mark even here. The sounds of passing ships above, carrying their engines' hum and propeller cavitation, slowly seep downwards, a diffuse but pervasive rumble in the ancient quiet. Research probes and landers bring microplastics with them, settling them into the pristine sediments of millennia past. The delicate, slow-motion processes of the abyss, calibrated over geological time, are not adapted to such intrusions. Even the light from a passing submersible is a temporary, overwhelming supernova in a world accustomed only to faint, bioluminescent sparks. The growing prospect of deep-sea mining seeking valuable metals in the volcanic nodules and hydrothermal vent systems represents perhaps the most direct confrontation with the forbidden nature of these zones. While tantalizing for its potential economic gains, the act of harvesting minerals from these slow-growing environments would cause destruction on scales rarely seen. Imagine bulldozers tearing through these slow-growing structures, destroying habitats that might take millennia to recover, or displacing communities of species utterly unique to a single vent system, threatening to extinguish them before we fully understand them. The silence, then, might be replaced by the harsh tearing of machinery, the pristine dark by the intrusive beams of survey lights, forever altering these ancient realms. And so, the quiet understanding of the Forbidden Zone expands beyond mere physical access. It becomes a reflection on responsibility, on the delicate balance between discovery and preservation, between resource extraction and the ecological integrity of a largely unknown, slow-paced, deeply complex world. The forbidden nature of the deep, once born of fear and ignorance, has evolved. It now speaks of sanctity, of a profound and enduring wilderness, largely independent of humanity and possessing an immense inherent value. The journey continues, slow, deliberate, a contemplation of processes that stretch beyond human scale, beyond human comprehension. The whispers of the Earth's molten core, the immense unyielding weight of miles of water, the soft rain of marine snow, the silent drama of evolution and adaptation, all continue to unfold just as they have for eons in this profound and magnificent realm. The Forbidden Zone remains largely out of reach, guarding its secrets with an elegant, immense, and ultimately unyielding presence. It reminds us of what we do not know, what we may never fully know, and in that mystery lies a great and lasting wonder. The stories whispered here of an unseen, largely untouchable world continue to resonate long after the descent ends and the slow climb back to light begins. And so we journeyed together, our thoughts descending through those unimaginable columns of water into the heart of what we have gently called the Forbidden Zone. We explored the boundless, hushed immensity where sunlight yields its final, reluctant surrender, and life, in its boundless creativity, begins anew. Now, as we let those profound images drift softly in our mind's eye, a quiet tapestry begins to reveal itself, woven from the deepest silken threads of ocean current and the glittering starlight of bioluminescence, all reaching towards a grander narrative of understanding. When we step back from the specific wonders we've encountered, the pressure-adapted giants, the chemosynthetic oases blooming in darkness, the ancient geological rhythms, a powerful realization softly surfaces. This forbidden zone is not merely an alien frontier, a distant cousin to our familiar sunlit world, but an integral and profound expression of the same life force that graces every ripple and rustle on the surface. It stands as a testament, unwavering and silent, to the sheer, astonishing resilience of existence. For here, in a world utterly divorced from the photosynthetic cycle that powers most of Earth's visible biosphere, life has not merely survived, it has exquisitely blossomed, inventing entirely new ways to breathe, to feed, to communicate, to underscore be underscore. This deep understanding ripples outwards, gently unsettling our preconceptions of what life needs, what it can withstand, and where it might reside. We tend, quite naturally, to project our own conditions and experiences onto the universe. We search for light, for moderate temperatures, for oxygen in environments beyond Earth. Yet, the abyssal plane whispers a different story, a much older, deeper narrative. Life is a fundamental property of matter and energy when given certain conditions, a force that finds a way, even if that way seems utterly paradoxical to our surface-bound sensibilities. The crushing weight of the ocean, which might seem an annihilating force, is simply the canvas upon which these deep-sea forms have been meticulously sculpted, their very structures designed to embrace, rather than resist, this monumental pressure. Their bodies are not battling the deep, they are underscore of underscore the deep, seamless extensions of its magnificent, unforgiving embrace. Looking across all of this, a profound connection emerges between these secluded ancient realms and the vast intricate web of human understanding. Our own yearning to explore, to peer into the shadowed corners of existence, is perhaps just an echo of life's fundamental drive to fill every available niche, to expand its consciousness into every conceivable space. The light we carry on our submersibles, pushing back the eternal dark, is more than mere illumination. It is a physical manifestation of our inherent curiosity, an ancient spark that has propelled us from the first campfire stories to the deepest oceanic trenches, and perhaps beyond, into the star-strewn abyss above. The darkness, which at first might feel like an enemy, transforms into a symbol of the unknown itself, a canvas not of absence, but of boundless possibility, where discoveries await patiently, held in the silent patience of geologic time. In the quiet spaces between these moments of deep exploration, we find ourselves reflecting on boundaries, both physical and conceptual. The forbidden zone is forbidden not by an arbitrary decree, but by the very fabric of our physical limitations, and by extension, our perceptual ones. It reminds us of the delicate veil that often separates our direct experience from the staggering complexity of the world around us. What else lies just beyond our senses, beyond the reach of our technology, simply waiting for our ingenuity to catch up or for our awareness to expand? This silent question echoes, resonating from the deepest trenches up to the familiar patterns of our daily lives, urging us to look closer, to listen more intently, to feel the subtle currents of the unseen. The creatures of the deep, often so unlike anything we've encountered elsewhere, become gentle metaphors for our own internal worlds. Just as they navigate immense pressures and utter darkness, often with their own internal lights guiding the way, so too do we navigate the complexities and challenges of our lives. We all carry hidden depths, untapped resilience, and the capacity for our own inner luminescence. Perhaps the whispered lessons of the abyss are simply a macroscopic mirror of our own microcosmic journeys, journeys of adaptation, of finding sustenance and meaning in unexpected places, and of discovering the profound beauty that can emerge from environments we once considered hostile or barren. And so, the concept of isolation, so starkly evident in the deep ocean, gently shifts into a profound understanding of subtle connection. Though separated by unfathomable distances and vastly different conditions, the abyssal ecosystems are not entirely disconnected from the surface world. Subtly, tirelessly, gravity works its magic, carrying particles of life, echoes of the sunlit world, down into the inky depths. This rain of detritus, often unseen and unnoticed, is a lifeblood for many, a silent reminder that all threads are ultimately connected. This cosmic dust, this gentle fall, weaves itself into the deep, influencing its currents, shaping its chemical composition, providing unexpected nutrient streams. In this way, the seemingly separate realms breathe a quiet, shared breath, demonstrating that true isolation in nature is perhaps more myth than reality. There is always a current, a particle, an unseen energetic exchange binding even the most distant corners of our world together. This layered understanding extends to time itself. The deep ocean harbors not just contemporary wonders, but echoes of primeval Earth, the volcanic vents, the slow crawl of tectonic plates, the mineral-rich waters that birth unique forms of life, are windows into the planet's infancy. In these depths, time moves with a different cadence, a profound and unhurried rhythm that stretches beyond human comprehension, measured not in seasons or decades, but in eons, in the slow, deliberate formation of crustal plates and the gradual evolution of species through unimaginable epochs. It encourages us to reevaluate our own fleeting moments, to find peace in the longer, grander narrative of planetary existence, a narrative where human civilization is but a recent whisper in the vast, roaring silence of geological time. The forbidden zone, in its timeless immobility, gently grounds us, reminding us of the planet's immense age and its ongoing, magnificent processes. Ultimately, these reflections lead us to a deeper sense of humility and reverence. The forbidden zone humbles our technological prowess, reminding us of the limits of our reach and the vastness of what remains unknown. It reveals how little we truly grasp of our own planet, even as we gaze outwards into the cosmos. Yet, this humility is not disempowering. Rather, it is profoundly enriching. It cultivates a sense of awe, an expansion of wonder that connects us more deeply to the earth itself. It inspires a renewed commitment to gentle exploration, to thoughtful stewardship, and to fostering a curiosity that seeks not to conquer, but to understand, to witness, and to learn from the planet's deepest, most secretive heart. It suggests that true wisdom may lie not in possessing all the answers, but in the sustained capacity to ask profound questions and to sit patiently with the mystery that often remains. And so we bring these disparate threads together, the immense pressures and delicate forms of life, the darkness and the bioluminescent gleam, the limits of human technology and the boundless reach of human curiosity. They weave into a comprehensive, comforting whole, reminding us that wonder is not something we extract from the world, but something we carry within us, a lens through which we choose to see. The deep ocean, in all its silent grandeur, has become not a barrier, but a profound mirror, reflecting back to us not only the astonishing complexity of Earth's life, but also the enduring spirit of discovery that resides, soft and steady, within the human heart. It offers us a peaceful yet powerful reminder that even in the most extreme conditions, In the utter absence of our familiar comforts, life finds a way to sing its quiet, luminous song, endlessly adapting, endlessly reinventing itself, forever calling us to look deeper, to feel more keenly, and to listen for the ancient whispers rising from the furthest reaches of our shared. And so, in the quiet after all our journeys through the sun-drenched surface waters and the twilight depths, we find ourselves now, finally, resting at the very edge of the vast, silent chasms we've gently called the Forbidden Zone. We've peered, if only in our mind's eye, into that world of impossible pressures and eternal night, a place where life blooms in forms alien and wondrous, defiant in its sheer existence. The echoes of hydrothermal vents, the soft whisper of abyssal currents, the phantom glow of bioluminescent creatures, these are the ethereal impressions we carry back from our contemplative voyage. As we close this chapter, our understanding perhaps isn't simply about what new discoveries await or the intricate web of life sustained by chemosynthesis. It runs deeper than that, sinking like a slow, shimmering particulate into the very bedrock of our consciousness. For to gaze into the deepest parts of our ocean is to look upon a primordial world, a living relic of Earth's beginnings, a crucible where life first experimented with survival in the most extreme conditions imaginable. It is a profound testament to resilience, an unending song of adaptation sung in the universal language of biochemical marvel. Think for a moment of the vast patience held within these deep waters. Eons have passed, entire species have risen and faded, mountains have been forged and eroded, and continents have drifted across the restless face of our planet. Yet beneath it all, the deep ocean has endured. It cradles its secrets with an almost divine tranquility, gradually, subtly, allowing only glimpses to those who dare to approach with reverence and careful intent. This is not a zone forbidden by any malicious intent, but perhaps a realm simply held in deep reserve, protected by its very nature, waiting for our collective wisdom to catch up, for our technology to grow gentler, our understanding more complete. In this deep, quiet acceptance, we might find a reflection for our own lives. There are parts of ourselves, vast and unknown, that remain uncharted, depths of emotion, forgotten memories, wells of untapped creativity and understanding, all lying within what could feel like our own forbidden zones. Just as the deep ocean nurtures incredible life in darkness, so too do these unseen aspects of ourselves hold immense potential, awaiting the soft lamp of introspection to reveal their quiet wonders. It teaches us that true depth often comes wrapped in silence, and that profound understanding often blossoms not in the harsh glare of constant activity, but in the tender quietude of solitary reflection. The idea of the forbidden gently dissolves now, transforming into a realization of the reserved, the protected, the patient. We realize that the very limits of our exploration are not barriers, but rather invitations, invitations to imagine, to wonder, to refine our perception, and to cultivate a profound respect for the inherent wisdom woven into the very fabric of our world. We've explored these deep abysses not merely for knowledge, but for a deepened sense of wonder, a rekindled awe for the extraordinary tapestry of life on Earth, the silent giants of the deep, the whispering vents, the delicate glow of the abyss. They all remind us that wonder is not something we find and collect, but something we feel and nurture within ourselves. As we drift slowly back from the abyssal plains and the trench walls, leaving the pressure-loving life to continue its slow, unhurried dance, let us carry with us a whisper of this vastness. Let the immense, silent power of the deep infuse our thoughts with a sense of perspective. our daily worries, our fleeting triumphs, our human endeavors, all play out on a scale that seems dwarfed by the sheer, timeless majesty of these forbidden depths. And yet, paradoxically, our journey into them magnifies the significance of every single moment, every connection, every act of kindness on the vibrant, sunlit surface where we dwell. For it is our human curiosity, our collective yearning to understand, that reaches across these scales, binding us to the entire living world, from the microscopic organisms in a single drop of water to the colossal, ancient leviathans patrolling the ocean's darkest, coldest reaches. And perhaps, in the end, that is the most precious treasure we retrieve from this quiet exploration. Not a glittering jewel, but a polished perspective, not a definitive answer, but a broadened sense of inquiry. We return with a quieter heart, a deeper appreciation for the Earth's endless capacity for surprise, and a humbler acknowledgement of how much beautiful mystery remains. The profound peace of the abyss is not a barren silence, but a profound, resonant stillness where the ceaseless murmur of existence can be heard most clearly if we but quiet our minds enough to listen. It teaches us that true strength is often found in gentle persistence, and that some of the most profound truths are whispered, not shouted. So, as we bring our thoughts gently home, let the deep ocean be a reminder that wonder exists not just in the bright, easily seen world, but also in the profound darkness, the unseen spaces, the quietly persistent. It is in embracing the forbidden, in gently pushing the boundaries of our understanding, that we ultimately expand the landscape of our own inner world, enriching it with depth, patience, and a sense of timeless awe. May you find in your own quiet reflections that there are no truly forbidden zones, only uncharted territories waiting for your gentle curiosity to explore them. As you prepare to settle into rest, let these thoughts cradle you softly. Imagine the slow, ancient currents of the deep moving with unhurried grace, cleansing, restoring. Imagine the distant, gentle glow of abyssal life, twinkling like stars in an impossibly deep sky, a silent celebration of existence against all odds. Carry this tranquility within you, this expansive understanding of the resilience and wonder that defines our living planet, even in its most remote corners. And so, as we conclude our shared journey into the quiet majesty of the deep, remember that the earth holds secrets in abundance, not to taunt us, but to continuously invite us to ponder, to marvel, and to respect. May your dreams be filled with the peaceful profundity of the ocean's silent heart, and may you awaken refreshed with a renewed sense of the beautiful, inexhaustible mysteries that surround us all. Until we next gather in this gentle corner of exploration, rest well, dear friends, knowing that beneath the surface, the patient, profound work of the world continues, a quiet testament to life's eternal dance. Sleep peacefully, bathed in the wisdom of the deep.